We are educated and taught to believe that we live in a physical, material universe and that we are biochemical, physical beings. The fact of the matter is we do not live in a physical, material universe. We live in a holographic universe, and we are not biochemical beings, but rather electromagnetic. Most of society does not know this because we are not taught this, because in our school systems and in our mainstream media, we are still taught 17th to 19th century science. Go back to what you were taught in middle school, high school, and college. By middle school, you were taught that all living and non-living matter is made up of atoms, but only living or once living matter is made up of cells. By high school, you were most likely taught that cell organelles and biomolecules, and if you were an AP student, you were taught about atoms and biomolecules. You most likely were taught that atoms and molecules are the building blocks of all living things, and that was probably the extent of your atomic and molecular knowledge in chemistry and biology. But what are atoms and molecules made from? We have not been informed of the modern discoveries of science. Our human bodies are not biochemical, nor are they material. We are quantum, hydrosonic, and electromagnetic before the latter. First off, let's start with our cells. On average, every human being consists of more than approximately 10 trillion cells, and each cell consists of protoplasm, a living substance that is 70% water, meaning that our body cells are mostly water, signifying our human bodies are aqueous. Not only are our cells mostly comprised of water, but the field of biophysics has revealed that our cells are actually receivers and transmitters of light. Biophysicist Fritz Albert Popp from the International Institute of Biophysics in Germany coined the term biophotons. Biophotons are light particles or light waves that cells of the body emit in order to communicate during cellular reactions at the speed of light. In other words, biophotons are responsible for cellular function. Popp also demonstrated that DNA operates not only chemically, the long-standing theory, but at a level beyond. It is essentially a storage unit for light and a source of biophoton emission. At least 75% of biophotonic activity originates from the DNA. Biophotons are quantifiable and measurable light emissions on the cellular level. Biophotons have proven to be measurable light frequencies, meaning that human beings and all things emit light. According to physicist Bryant Myers, our bodies actually emit more light than the sun. The sun, kilogram for kilogram, is 1,000 times less efficient than the human body at converting mass into light. 1 kilogram of the sun generates only 1/5000th of a watt on average, whereas the human body typically generates more than 1 watt per kilogram. The sun is 10 trillion times more massive, so it more than compensates with its size. Pound for pound, you shine brighter than the sun. In the nuclei of each cell of the human body, the DNA carries the structure of our whole body. It is the blueprint not only of our physical form, but also of the processes that our form undergoes in terms of survival. DNA is the projector of that field which sets up the stress gradients in the vacuum or quantum foam to initiate the process of embryonic holography. Biophysics has further proven DNA to actually be an antenna for biophotons, which has also been proven through the research of Dr. Popp. The fact that our bodies are mostly comprised of water, and that our DNA is a receiver and transmitter of light, proves we are not only aqueous, but we are quantum beings. But before the DNA in our cells uses light to perform cellular function, it first uses sound. In a paper entitled A Holographic Concept of Reality, which was featured in Stanley Krippner's book Psychoenergetic Systems, a team of researchers led by Richard Miller showed that superposed coherent waves in cells interact and form patterns first through sound and secondly light. This idea dovetails with research by Russian scientists Peter Gardiev and Vladimir Poponin. They demonstrated that chromosomes work like holographic biocomputers, using the DNA's own electromagnetic radiation to generate and interpret spiraling waves of sound and light that run up and down the DNA ladder. Gardiev and his group used language frequencies such as words, which are sounds, to repair chromosomes damaged by X-rays. Gardiev thus concludes that life is electromagnetic rather than chemical, and that DNA can be activated with linguistic expressions or sounds like an antenna. In turn, this activation modifies the human bioenergy fields, which transmit radio and light waves to bodily structures. Gardiev and his group discovered a wave-based genome and DNA phantom effect that strongly supports the holographic concept of reality. This main information channel of DNA is the same for both photons and radio waves. Superposed coherent waves of different types in the cells interact to form diffraction patterns. First, they emerge in the acoustic domain. Secondly, in the electromagnetic domain. Our biological systems is established by a complex electrodynamic field that is in part determined by its atomic physiochemical components. These in part determine the behavior and orientation of these components. This dynamic is mediated through wave-based genomes wherein DNA functions as the holographic projector of the psychophysical system. Our bodies are quantum bioholograms. And we can go even deeper. Cells are not the smallest units of matter. They can be further broken down into molecules, which are made up of atoms. Atoms are not solid particles. Atoms are actually 99.99% empty space, meaning we human beings are only about 1/billionth physical. The nucleus of each atom is 98% non-matter, as the nucleus of an atom is made of protons and neutrons, which are made of quarks, and the mass of quarks is only 2% the mass of a proton. Everything you can touch or perceive are all composed of atoms, and since all of these atoms are composed of electrons and the nucleons in the center of those atoms, therefore, if electrons, protons, and neutrons are not matter, but rather a form of gravitationally trapped light, that means matter does not exist and that we are holographic. The elements that make up our atoms come from stardust. 90% of our body mass is in fact stardust because all the other elements, except hydrogen and helium, are created in stars, with elements heavier than iron coming from supernovas. As Carl Sagan correctly once said, we are star stuff. Quantum physics has proven we live in a holographic universe. More and more evidence is proving that we live in a holographic universe based on consciousness, information, energy, and matter in that order. The information field of the universe can be likened to a universal intelligence, a universal mind, or infinitely complex universal computer. This guiding intelligence creates order out of chaos and helps to intelligently direct the flow of energy and matter to create this remarkable and awe-inspiring universe that we live in, which includes the amazing human body. We are holographic beings living in a holographic universe. The idea of the entire universe and everything in it, including you and I, as one gigantic hologram projection is proving to be an actuality, but supported by highly respected physicists such as Lee Smolin, Martin Susskind, Brian Greene, Jacob Bekenstein, David Bohm, and the current director of Fermilab, Craig Hogan. As explained by the Resonance Project biophysicist William Brown, reality is flashing in and out of existence hypothetically at point time at 10 to the 44th times per second. Every time our reality oscillates between form and the pure energy state of the field, our awareness, which is constant and doesn't flash in and out of existence, informs the field what to reappear is when it makes its transition back to form at the quantum level. The universe and our bodies are literally all 3D holograms projected from the boundary of the universe, evidence coming from a large and powerful gravitational wave detector called the GEO 600 began emitting an unexplainable noise which was a mystery to the scientists operating it. Physicist Craig Hogan from the Fermilab Particle Physics Labs in Batavia, Illinois, stated the GEO 600 had discovered a fundamental limit of space-time, a point where space-time stops behaving in accordance to Einstein's general relative theory, but instead becomes grainy. Energy fields are decoded by our brains into a 3D picture, and this three-dimensional hologram gives us the illusion of a solid physical world. The human brain mathematically constructs reality by interpreting these frequencies and interference patterns that exist within information fields. The body is a dynamic holographic field of energy and information that forms an intelligent feedback loop between the body, the environment outside, and the cells within. Your 100 trillion cells are even a part of this matrix. They contain an internal framework known as the cytoskeleton that connects all parts of the cell, from the nucleus to outer cell membrane. So if what appears to be physical around us is not matter, then who and what are we, and what is this universe that surrounds us? Thus, we can be deconstructed into cells, biomolecules, atoms, but ultimately, the foundation of our creation is phonon and photon, sound first, then light, which creates our holographic bodies from our water-filled cells. But that doesn't even come close to the complexity, structure, organization, and information that make us what we are. Scientifically, we are hydrosonic light beings. We are not just merely human. But what are we? We are divine consciousness made in the image of our Creator. As Carl Sagan said, the beauty of living things is not the atoms that go into them, but the way those atoms are put together. The human body is literally a miniature universe, a holographic energy vortex mirroring the universe itself, and we are highly tuned and dependent on the light frequencies emanating from the sun as our DNA receives biophotons from the sun, which is what unlocks our DNA strands. Earth's elements, including the magnetic field and Schumann resonance frequencies. Life is an interconnected flow of light and information from the cosmos through the sun to the earth that ultimately flows and resonates into our bodies, tissues, and cells via biophotons received by the DNA of our cells.